Welcome to another episode of Women in Focus. I have the opportunity of meeting a very interesting woman today. She was the catalyst for me to join and help Royal Columbian Hospital Foundation. And her name is Feroza Jamal, and she is our Woman in Focus today. It's taken me a long time to bring her here. Feroza, you're most welcome in our program. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Shishmaji. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be in this room with you.
Oh, that's so sweet. Feroza, you've been with the Royal Columbian Hospital Foundation for a long time. Now, there's a difference between the hospital and the foundation.
There is.
Can you give me a little idea?
Yeah, so the hospital, in all hospital cases, take care of patients.
Yes.
It's the medical, clinical side. The foundation is an arm of the hospital where we fundraise to enable the staff, physicians, clinicians, and volunteers of the hospital to provide excellent care to the patients that need it the most. So RCH has been one of the oldest, and is oldest in BC, oldest hospital. And the foundation has supported the hospital throughout its journey.
Now, the hospital looks after not just the people in the Lower Mainland. It's from Boston Bar all the way down to...
Yeah, Burnaby, all the way into the Lower Mainland. We service 1 in 3 British Columbians, who have critical care needs. If there is a traffic accident, say on the Coquihalla, Hope, anywhere in that area, they will be sent to RCH. We're a trauma care center.
Right.
We're a center that focuses and has all of these portfolios of care within one roof. So
and latest.
Yes.
Latest equipment. I was there one day and a guy was on his bike and he suffered a heart attack. He was brought in, and from the time that he suffered the heart attack to the time that they looked at him and he went out, it was like 45 minutes. They put a stent in his heart and he was good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the care, this is the time that our professionals take, and they're excellent at what they do. The foundation enables them to have the technology and equipment that is needed to provide this sort of care. And every second of a critical injury, of a heart attack, high-risk maternity, of a neuroscience episode, every second is important.
Of course, of course. My God, so how long have you been with the foundation?
So I am one of the longest members of our office right now, 17 years, just last week.
Wow.
I have grown up at RCH Foundation.
Isn't that just beautiful? What made you go to RCH? What was it? As a child, did you always want to help people? What was it?
So it took me in a different direction joining RCH Foundation. So initially as a child, I wanted to be a nurse like my mom.
Your mom is a nurse?
My mom's a nurse, yes. I wanted to be a nurse. And then as soon as I was, listening to stories and, having to take care of my younger sibling, my brother, he got hurt one time and I'm like, I don't know what to do here. So I was like, maybe this is not my route. It's not, there is that care factor, but there's also that medical factor, which I was not, not meant to be. And then I wanted to be a teacher because education is so important, right? Knowledge is so strong. It is so important to have.
Yes.
So I was studying to be a teacher.
Right.
And along the way, I was an athlete. I volunteered within my Smiley community.
Right.
And I was doing all of these things. And along the way, I suffered a medical mishap. So in that, I was diagnosed with a rare muscle disorder.
No kidding.
So I was at the age of 18, 19.
Wow.
When your high school graduation has happened, you're looking forward to university, every friend of yours is going to Mexico and partying. I was sitting here looking at x-rays and CT scans and all of that. So I'd suffered an injury.
Yes.
And from that injury, it ended up becoming a muscle disorder.
So what does that do to you?
So it's a muscle disorder where my muscles are degenerating. They're at a rate of degenerations.
No kidding.
From now till future, whenever, muscle mass is deteriorating.
So was it because of the injury that you had?
So it's hard to pinpoint exactly
Right.
one thing, but the injury was a sports-related injury.
Okay.
And
So
then I
that
just
probably-
lost feeling from my
Yeah.
waist down.
Okay.
And then rushed to hospital. Had all these CT scans, went through the medical system, had to navigate it myself with my mom, and
She
figured
must
it
have
out.
been very worried.
Yes, everyone was.
Yeah.
Right? At 19,
Yeah.
you're sitting here and you can't move, right?
Wow.
And then you're diagnosed with a rare muscle disorder that only affects 1 in 10,000
Holy
African
mackerel.
American women between the ages of 25 and 50. And so I didn't fall in any of these categories. So I'm looking at these health professionals. I'm like, are you sure you have the right chart?
Right diagnosis,
Right?
yes.
Like, I'm serious. And they're like, no, it's autoimmunal. And then they went into the science of it. And they're like, this is how we came across this diagnosis. So, okay, what's the treatment plan? So treatment plan first was for me to accept that I have this disorder. And at the age where everybody is being young and doing all these
Partying
things,
around and all that, yeah.
I had to sit and change my mindset and say, this is just a challenge right now. It's a hurdle, and that's all it is. And I will get through it. And I did. So medically, I was a patient at RCH.
Ah.
It was the medical daycare department that treated my muscle disorder with intravenous IV therapy of steroids, of autoimmunosuppressants, and you name it. I pretty
Right.
much had the pharmacy in my arm. So it was RCH that helped me. And I couldn't finish my studies at that point of being a teacher.
Right.
So I did eventually finish my bachelor's of arts,
Yes.
a focus in history. And I did then volunteer at the hospital for a number of months.
Yes.
I came across somebody in our community that said, hey, I've got an opportunity for you.
Yeah.
You're just fit to be in our office.
Wow.
So it was then I started as a volunteer at the front reception, 2007, November 2007. And I've been there since and have gradually gotten into a position of assisting the vice president and chief development officer. And I grew
Yes.
up there, like I said before.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. You know what I want to do? I want to take you to your childhood, because you talked a little bit about that. I want to find out where your heritage is, where you come from. But let's take a short commercial break and come back.
Sure.
Feroza is our Woman in Focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Women in Focus. Feroza Jamal is our Woman in Focus today. We were talking about how you became a part of Royal Columbian Hospital Foundation, where you have been there for such a long time. Let me take you back to your childhood. Where were you born?
I was born in Kamloops, BC.
Wow. And your parents had, because you mentioned you're Ismaili.
Yes.
So your parents must have been from East Africa then?
Yes.
Where
so
from?
my mom and her family is from Uganda.
Okay.
So they endured the Idi Amin regime.
Yes.
And had to come here.
Yes.
In 70, I think it was 77, 78-ish.
Right.
My dad and his family are from Dar es Salaam, from Tanzania.
Oh, wow.
My parents met here.
Oh, they didn't meet in Africa?
No, they met here in Vancouver and got married in Vancouver. My mom's family from Africa had to go to Montreal for
Right.
a number of months.
Yeah. Oh,
or
months.
They did
Okay.
a couple of months there, and then the whole family, I guess, they were asked where these are your two options, sort of thing.
Right.
And they chose Kamloops. I think there was a family connection through friends that
yes.
had started up. So Kamloops was their stepping ground. Their foundation was then laid again there.
Wow.
Built our family there. I was born there in 81. And my mom finished her studies in Kamloops to be a nurse. Came to Vancouver, got married.
Yes.
Chronologically, this is not correct, but I am
That's right, yes.
right. So 79, my
Yes.
parents got married. 81, I was born. 84, my brother was born. I have a younger brother. He was born here in Vancouver. Yeah.
So only two, you and your brother?
That's right. Yeah.
Now, your parents and everybody, I think all immigrants have got to work so hard. I mean, they work hard for their families, their children, right? And your mom and dad's parents took your mom and dad, you know, and came to Canada. I mean, that was a time when East Africans had a choice to go to any part of the world. For the Ismaili community, I understand Hazir Imam made that possible for all of you.
Absolutely.
And for other South Asians who were living in East Africa, they had to choose whether they would go to India or to England because they were British subjects. And I think at that time, we had the opportunity to come to Montreal as well, but my father chose England. And so we went to England, whereas your family went to, you know, your mom's family went to Montreal. Now, with that sort of a hard-working background, obviously children are also instilled. And that's why, you know, I find that immigrant children are so hardworking. They want to please their parents because they see their parents working so hard. And that must have been one of the, you know, points that you and your brother took.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We saw the hardships
Yeah.
our parents endured. We felt a little bit of that. Our parents did a phenomenal job, as all immigrant parents do, to shelter their children and provide as much as they can so that they can integrate into the society that they live in, which is extremely important at that particular time.
For sure.
Right? The hard work, the encouragement, the give back to where you work, where you live, give back to your society is not only something that our parents instilled in us, it's also a part of our faith.
Yes.
And so working with the foundation, I feel like I am a part of that community that gives back.
Oh, yes.
And when I receive donations, you hear stories of grateful patients. You hear stories of family members who appreciate the care, the time, the effort. They appreciate what has been done to save lives.
Right.
And so that giving back, I feel every day from the outside community. And for me to give back to the foundation in the way of not just an employee, but also as a donor, also as a supporter, is my way of saying thank you.
And you're a very, what would I like to say? Because I've known Feroza for a long time. You're a very generous person, you know.
You're too kind. Too kind.
You give. You know, anybody who comes in your life, you're. I've talked to many people. Nafisa talks highly of you.
I love Nafisa.
She's another person who says, you know, Feroza is such an amazing person. And, you know, you are. And it's the feeling of giving that you have innate in yourself, you know. And that's why you're radiant. You're doing fine. So then I want to come to the part where you meet your husband, because, you know,
oh gosh.
was it an arranged marriage? Was it a love marriage? How was it?
Oh my God, this story has been told many times.
Yes.
And my husband has a different version of it.
Oh, okay.
But here's
your version.
I call it the real version. And now it's being public. So here we go. It happened very spontaneously, or by fate. My mom and I were at Jamaat Khana.
Yes.
And we were sitting on a bench, and my husband Galib, his mom, came and asked me, "Is this available? Can I sit?"
Can I sit there?
Right?
Okay, yeah.
So sure, no problem. I was in my volunteer's uniform, and I got called to do something as to help somebody. So I left. I come back and we finish our prayers, and afterwards I go to my mom. I said, there was a lot of talking happening there.
What
like,
was going
what's
on?
up? What have you pulled? What's going on? She's like, no, I was just, you know, Auntie was asking if this was my daughter and if you were married. I said, oh gosh, Mom, in Jamaat Khana we're doing this?
That's the only place.
Apparently, apparently. So she was like, no, just generally asking. So there was, you know, this back and forth with the moms.
Yeah.
And phone numbers were exchanged.
Oh, wow.
By the moms.
By the moms.
And so Galib's mom went to, I think, another family member whose daughter-in-law I was friends with. So, you know, tell me a little bit about Feroza.
Yeah.
What is she like and all of this? So I guess, you know, the friend and the niece just said whatever she had to. And I was given the phone number, and he was also given my phone number. Now this, like, a week later, I haven't heard from him. So I'm like, okay, this is again another, you know, like, ato bekar thegu, right? So I'm like, okay, no problem. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
And then and then this friend sends me a photo, and Shushmaji, I swear to you, this photo was taken like maybe 2-3 years prior.
Right.
And I'm looking at it, and it's from somebody's wedding, and she's like, it's the person on the right. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, this seems like an older man. What is happening here? So in fact, when she had said to the right, she meant the left.
I see.
See, so Galib and his dad were on two opposite sides, and I'm like, this is really not going to work out.
No.
So fast forward a couple of days, and I meet his mom at Jamaat Khan, and she's like, what is the problem? And I said, Auntie, I'm so sorry. What do you mean? She's like, you've not called my son. He has called you and he's left a message and you've not called. And I said, Auntie, I've not received any phone calls, I swear. I said, you might want to ask if he's got the right phone number.
Right.
She goes, I'm giving you his number.
You call him.
You call him if he doesn't call you by the end of the weekend.
Yes.
I'm like, all right, so this auntie really wants something to happen? Okay,
Yeah.
fine. And the fact that it happened at Jamaat Khan and all of this, I'm thinking, okay, this might be,
Yeah,
you know, the
it's meant to
direction,
be.
and you know, what harm is it to try? So
Yeah.
come Sunday evening, I sent a text, and I said, this is Feroza. Your mom gave me your phone number. I'm just connecting with you in case you had the wrong number and are calling somebody else.
Oh, very smart.
So I get an immediate text going, oh, thanks, I'd misplaced your number. And I was like, okay. So we talked a little bit over text and made plans to meet for coffee.
And that was it.
And that was it. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, she was working the night shift. I said,
Yeah.
I'm going for coffee. I will pick you up after your night shift is
Yeah.
done. It's not going to take more than half an hour.
Yeah.
It's going to be, done deal. And she's like, what do you mean done deal? I'm like, it's not going to work out. She's
Yes,
like,
I'm just going to meet him for coffee and that's it.
Yeah, right. I'm just fulfilling a formality. Shashmaji, we were there for 4.5 hours.
You missed to pick up your mom.
I almost did. Almost did. He actually was very, very kind and very sweet. And he had said something until this day I don't remember, but I was drinking steep tea, which he had never heard of, and that was another joke that we have running with us. But
Yeah.
I took a sip and it came out of my nose,
Yeah.
and I'm everywhere. There's chai everywhere, and I'm like, this is not going well. But he has said to me that at that moment he knew that this was going to be it.
Isn't that just beautiful?
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. Oh, I'm going to take a break, but I want to come back and talk to you about your marriage. Feroza is our woman in focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back. It's a very interesting story. Welcome back to Women in Focus. Feroza is telling the story of how she met. And you named him. His name is?
Galib.
Galib. What a lovely name.
Yeah.
So Galib and you then went to mom and said, okay, it's a done deal.
Yeah, so
but in another way.
Yeah. And so after our 4.5 hour chai
Yeah.
and coffee date, he called me on my way to picking up my mom, and he said, what are you doing on Saturday? And I'm like, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
He's like, would you come over for a barbecue to my house? I'm like, Emma, this first date I'm having at his house with his family, this is really too much right
Yeah.
now. So I said, I'd have to get back to you and let you know, right?
Yeah.
So I talked to my mom, and my mom's like, okay, what's the issue?
Yeah.
Go. What is there? Do you like him? And I said, yeah, he's very kind. He's very nice. We had a great conversation. She's like, just go.
Yeah.
Okay. So I went. I met his parents. I met his uncle, his aunt,
Everyone.
his cousins,
Yeah.
our mutual friend and cousin. And so it was like a family affair. But I walked in feeling like I belonged there.
Isn't that just lovely?
And that was amazing.
Yeah. So the wedding, was it a big wedding, small wedding?
Oh, it was huge.
Huge.
I was the first in my family to
Yeah.
get married and the first girl.
Okay.
And Galib is an only child, so first on their side as well. It was gigantic. It was a lot of people. And because it was the first and in our culture, it's, parents have been to other people's weddings, and so
yes.
we have to invite them.
So everybody
So
was there.
everybody, it was a 5-day event.
Oh my.
anything from a family mehndi all the way to the goodbye ceremony.
Right.
Anywhere from 200 to 500 people. I think at our actual nikah, we had about 500.
Wow.
And then at the reception was close to 500-600.
So just for your reference, that's not a big wedding.
No, I know it's not. I'm sure.
I went to a wedding the other day, 1,500 people.
I don't even know what that looks like.
I know, it was just like amazing. So Feroza, you have a few children.
I have 2 girls.
2 girls?
Yes.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
And how old are they?
Sophia is 9 and Aliyah is 8.
8.
They're 13
soon,
months
yeah,
apart.
13 months. So you took maternity leave and then you came back to work. So you're still working. How long do you think you want to stay with the foundation?
In my heart, as long as they keep me. I would love to be there for another decade, if I can be.
Isn't that just beautiful?
It's very special to me.
It's a place where you feel you belong.
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I think when you have that sort of a feeling for a place where you're working, it's not work. You're leaving home, which is another lovely place of yours, to go to another lovely place, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I'm indebted to them. I'm grateful to them. I was a high-risk maternity pregnancy.
Yes.
And both my girls were emergency C-sections.
Oh.
And we at RCH treat high-risk maternity patients.
As well.
And
Wow.
so I'm indebted to them.
And both your daughters are doing well?
Shukr, yes, they are.
What are your plans for the next, apart from working at the foundation, for the next little while? What are you so passionate about, apart from, raising funds for the foundation?
Personally, it's a great question, which I don't know if I have an answer for.
Just as yet?
I love giving back.
Yeah.
So
Whichever way.
whichever way, and whatever
Very
opportunity presents itself.
Beautiful.
Yes.
It's such a beautiful story, the way you have related it. I mean, I feel I was there watching it all. Thank you so very much for being a Woman in Focus today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Feroza Jamal has been our Woman in Focus today. Don't go away. We'll be right back.